All right, good.
All right. At this time, I'd like to call this meeting to order on December 18th, 2025. This will be meeting number 9 for us, and the start time is 5:31. So we don't have anyone here that wants to speak publicly on anything, so it looks like we'll move on to the first item. At this time, I'll introduce or reintroduce John Chapman, Long Range Planning Manager. He'll provide an update on the Innovate Arlington Plan process and overview for 2026.
All right. Thank you, Chair. Good to see everyone. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I have an update for y'all on Innovate Arlington and our big year ahead, not just for us, but for the entire city. We have our esteemed colleagues here that are going to talk to y'all more about community engagement, implementation of plans and zoning, as well as public outreach. And then we'll talk more about Innovate Arlington, the small area place type market assessment overview. And at that point, right before we start that, just FYI, we are going to take a little break so that we can bring on our consultant from NAO, whose team conducted this work for us. And then we'll go through our normal remainder of the meeting with future meetings, future agenda items, and then adjourn. So we are just wrapping up all of our work in 2025, and as I've previously emailed, not only has this committee done a lot of work, but our community members have done a lot as well as staff. Phase 2 is really winding down. We just finished all of our public engagement, and we'll have an update for y'all at our next meeting, as well as starting to ramp up more discussions about what we're calling the big moves with y'all, council, planning and zoning commission, staff, some other external stakeholders, and more so the public. Phase 3 will begin about the middle of Q1, and that's really the full development of the plan itself. So at the top of your places is a 11 by 17 table with a lot of colors. That is our long-range planning year ahead, as well as all of the activities that are planned for the city as a whole. There's a lot that we will need to juggle in terms of outreach that we'll touch on. We have the Formula One racing happening in March, which actually coincides with our next public engagement. And we also have the World Cup, which also coincides with our July engagement. So lots of needling that we will do here at the city to make sure we get the word out with our community members, and we'll talk more about what assistance y'all may be able to provide us as well. Form-based code, that is a project that our team is also facilitating. We are kind of ramping up our adoption process, going through a lot of work sessions with council, committee, and Planning and Zoning Commission. So you can see there the tentative adoption timeline includes getting to public hearing with council in April. If anyone is interested in learning more about that, feel free to email me. I'm happy to walk y'all through more so what form-based code is. And then Innovate Arlington down there, you can see a lot of our anticipated work session and adopted timeline. That's the bottom row. But you can also see all of our anticipated CPSC meetings with y'all. The red boxes that you may see around some of those blue meetings, those are the critical meetings where we're going to have a lot of materials in front of y'all. The boxes that aren't bound by red are going to be open meetings for us to decide together if we need to have additional meetings with just staff to go over any additional materials. The maps that y'all reviewed back in November, the 3 growth scenario maps, those have been reviewed by the public. If you recall scenario 2 and 3, which was connected corridors and mixed-use cores, those were well received by the community members we spoke with. So MIG is currently compiling all the information and creating one map. We're going to create a dashboard for y'all to see more of those metrics and a digital map that you'll be able to zoom around the city and actually make comments for, depending on, if something doesn't necessarily seem to jive within a certain area. So be on the lookout. That'll start hitting your emails in January. All right. So tonight we have several members of the Office of Communications and Legislative Affairs, as well as the Office of Strategic Initiatives, and then of course Jency Thopel, our Director of Development Services. So tonight's meeting is really going to be exploring community engagement approaches, not only that we do here with Innovate Arlington, but what the city has traditionally done with all of their long-range plans that are adopted by council. So there's going to be a lot of materials about services that these departments provide, ideas about or questions that we might have about, what can we do better, some approaches, as well as a discussion on some challenges that, we all experience. So Jay Warren, to my left, is the Director of Community and Legislative Affairs. We have Cynthia Cruz, who's our principal planner with the Office of Strategic Initiatives, Jacob Brown, who's our Strategic Initiatives Manager, as well as our Historic Preservation Officer, and Jency Thopel. So with that, I'll hand it over to Jay Warren.
Thank you, John. And good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking some time for me to be able to be here with you today. I'm impressed that we're a week out from Christmas, and you got this many people in the room still engaged and interested, and so yes, that's worth a round of applause. And also just a big thank you to all of you. You're not doing what I think would be, someone might say, the most glamorous work, but it's really important work, and you're rolling up your sleeves, and you're taking the time, and it's a lot of time to really think, to listen, to strategize, to come up with a plan that is going to be impactful, not just in the near future, but in the long-term future of our community. The comp plan is really one of the most important things that we can do, and we're just really lucky to have individuals like all of you in our community who are engaged and plugged in, willing to invest the time to do this. So a big thank you from us and the staff here at the City of Arlington. Before I talk a little bit about what my department does, and specifically what the Office of Communications does, I did want to talk to you a little bit about what we've done in relation to promoting the comp plan and the process that you've been going through, so you get an idea of really why we've been investing our time and energy to make sure that this is a successful endeavor. We created a specific website for this, and you can see there that we've had over 4,000 views to it. And we've been able to list this on the front page of the city's homepage as well under the hot topics, so we can keep it at a really high level, hopefully attracting people as they're coming to the website to pay their water bill or do the other kind of business that they would normally come to our website for. So we're trying to keep it up there in people's minds as regularly as possible. Already 5 videos have been produced at 75,000 views, and our email subscribers are over 4,000. Social media, you're looking at over almost 300,000 impressions over the course of about the last year. Engagements are strong there as well. Our Arlington Listen site, which was new, we actually had purchased this Arlington Listen site. The vendor is Granicus, and you guys were kind of our guinea pig, and it's worked really well. We thought this was the perfect way to test how this site would work. It allows us to be much more interactive with the community, where we can get opinions, polls, all sorts of different things with this site. And the numbers there bear out that it has been successful already. And I look forward to being able to implement this in other ways too. So the comp plan was a great way for us to test this out. And then media relations, this is great. I mean, again, this isn't what I would call the most glamorous of stories that the media might want to come cover. Typically, if the media is coming to cover anything in Arlington, I usually like to joke that it's Taylor Swift in the entertainment district, or it's something bad that we'd prefer they not cover, right? The fact that we've gotten 20 stories out of our local media with a reach of 62 million and advertising value equivalent of almost $600,000 is impressive, particularly for a topic like this. So we're really pleased with how that has gone. There's 7 pages. Well, first of all, this is how we're doing on Nextdoor first, before I get to the 7 pages. And Nextdoor is an important tool for us, and then our neighborhood services team has been doing this work for us. And it really helps us reach people at a different level. Some people don't want to necessarily follow the city's pages, which we understand. Not everyone wants to be engaged at that level. We wish they all would, but we understand. But Nextdoor, you might want to be engaged with your neighborhood. You're signed up there. So as we're able to post information there, we might be able to reach a different audience here in Arlington. So you see a lot of different posts that have happened there over the course of last year. And now here are the 7 pages of public meetings. And again, I'm not going to go over all of them, but I just wanted you to see the totality of the times that we have met with the public in different formats and in different ways, the board game being one of those great examples of a different way to engage with the public. And you can see all the different ways that has happened. I think it's just critical to show this is not normal. We do not normally invest this level of time and energy in the engagement that we have with our community on a specific topic. Typically, it's a couple stories, a couple social media posts, maybe a video, and you've moved on to the next thing, right? In this case, it has been a very heavy investment in how we make sure this news is getting out to our community and that they're engaged in the process. And I think that again, underscores really how important the process is that we're going through for our community and its future. So that's a little bit about what we've done so far on this. We've got more to come, obviously, because as the map showed, we've got another year of this work to go or so. Yes, absolutely, I'd love to, yes.
My first question was back on the
Ni-
impressions.
Nina,
And
we-
it just seemed a bit weird.
will
it
you
just seemed
state your name for the record?
Thank
Thanks.
you. I've forgotten. It's been a while. Nina Henderson. My name. If I could go back to page 5 in our printout, page 10 on the slides, where you're giving the numbers of neighborhood update and everything is 1,200. Is that based on a budget that you spent and you were spending so much up until this many engagements and that was it? That just seems a bit odd.
That's the circulation. So it's not.
What does that mean? You have a mailing list, an email
Yeah,
list?
Yes, hi. Hi, this is Jacob Browning, Neighborhood Engagement Manager with the Office of Strategic Initiatives. That is our database list of neighborhoods or residents that we have that we use to contact.
Okay, thank you.
I also have a question. Taylor Oldroyd. Do we know from the consultants how we compare to other communities with this kind of engagement with other plans that they've come up with? Are we tracking normal within public engagement? Or are we above? Do we know? Have we heard from the consultants yet?
Defer to John.
I haven't asked them that specifically, so we can look into that and make sure it's a part of our phase 2 engagement, complete portfolio for y'all.
Any other questions? And I should have prefaced it by saying, I think it's a lot easier for us to have questions in the moment, and then have to go back at the end because we'll all forget that, and I'll forget what I've said anyway. So it'd be helpful so I appreciate you interrupting with that question, and please continue to do that as we go through the presentation. So a little bit about my department and what the Communications and Legislative Affairs does. You've got the purpose there. A lot of people think it's just communications. Really, we kind of have two components of this department. We obviously do communications, office communications, and our action center. That's kind of our version of 311. You can call in with questions about the city to that service. And we have about almost 20 agents that are able to take calls. So those are the two primarily communications-oriented things. But we also, under our department, we have the city secretary's office. The council agenda is produced there. Our city manager will often say that the city council agenda is the most important communication document that we produce on a regular basis, because that's how we're showing the public what we're doing and how we're spending their dollars and the direction the city's headed, right? And so the agenda is really a critical component of what we do within our department. Intergovernmental affairs, this is how we interact with the federal and state and county level governments and also all of our neighbors. That happens within this department. And the support staffs then for the mayor and council office and also the city manager's office. So you see two real threads there kind of going through this that focus on legislative affairs as well as communications. And that's the work that we do here within our department of about 50 employees. From a communication standpoint, these are all the different ways that we're able to connect with Arlington. And as you're looking at the list, the thing I'd tell you is my philosophy in communications is we need to be everywhere. It's almost like throwing spaghetti at a wall, which may not sound strategic, and we'll be surgical and strategic at times when we know we need to reach a specific audience. If we need to reach just business owners, we can go to Jincy's group and find some of that information and go surgically to that group. But when we're trying to reach the general public, The spaghetti at the wall theory is really the most effective, because while you may like to get your information on Twitter with just a headline, you may like a video, you may like a longer in-depth article on the website, all these different ways to do it, we feel like we need to be in all of those places in order to reach the largest audience possible. So you'll see a rather diverse mix of different ways that we can communicate, from website content, e-newsletter. Some people like to deliver it right into their inbox. Well, we can do that for you. You don't have to come to the website to do that. Some people don't want to engage in any of those things, but they might see our messaging either on digital message boards or on the PSA billboards that we have put out in the entertainment district, or anywhere on the major highways where you'll see a Lamar or Clear Channel big billboard. We'll be posting messaging there as well. Water bill inserts, another way we can do this. We have our cable channel, so if you like video content, you can get it there. That's also posted online and social media, and you'll find a lot of that on our website too. So lots of different ways for you to do this. There's a lot of storytelling happening here, and we'll go into a little bit more detail on that, but there's a reason for that. This is a big metro area. And as we continue to grow, I think the forecast is within the next decade or two, we'll be the third largest metro area in the country, surpassing Chicago, if I remember correctly. That means there's a lot of competition for what's being covered. We can no longer rely on the media to tell our story. How many of you are longtime Arlington residents, let's say 20 or 30-year residents? Okay. You all probably remember when the Fort Worth Star-Telegram and the Dallas Morning News were fighting over Arlington. We were the middle ground, the turf where they wanted to wage their war to get readers and subscribers. Those days are long gone. There was a time not that long ago where the Star-Telegram had dedicated reporters to not only City Hall, and maybe multiple to City Hall, but also to the University of Texas at Arlington, to AISD, to even Six Flags. Those days are long gone. If we have a reporter at a city council meeting now, we're happy. We just cannot rely on the media to tell our story. They're focused on Dallas and to a certain extent Fort Worth. So it's become incumbent on us, and what my department does really through all of these different channels, to telling Arlington's story. That's frankly, the only way that we're able to ensure that all of our news, whether it's neighborhood news, news about infrastructure projects, roads being built in your neighborhood, obviously the city council budget, and frankly, it's not always good news, the budget woes that we had over the last year as we had to close at almost $25 million budget shortfall. That's how those stories get told, is through our office. We launched a new website last year. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, I would encourage you to do so. We're really proud of the direction we took with the website. This is my fourth website with the city, and I've seen us kind of grow from really kind of a very standard, rudimentary in a way, website. And we progressively have gotten, I think, more and more user-friendly and more resident-focused. This latest incarnation is by far the most resident-focused. We kind of broke the system in a way. And we told the departments, and some of them looked at us, we were a little crazy. I don't know if Jinsey was one of them, but they were like, wait a minute. We said, look, this no longer needs to be developed by department. We want you to start, this website needs to function as a resident would use it. I don't need you to come think about, okay, well, Jinsey's got permits in her department, obviously, but if you need a fire alarm permit, you need to go to the fire department. And if you need a license for your dog, you gotta go over here. If you need this type of permit, you go over here. Let's think of it from a resident standpoint. They're not gonna wanna figure out how to go to all those different web pages and departments. Let's just have a permits page where everything is listed. So you have one click, and you would search for it as a resident would search for it, as an example. So that's how this one has been designed. And really, the other big thing that we did with this website was we looked at our content that we had. It was massive. We had an over 2,000 page website. That's a lot of content. And really, it's helpful to go through these reorganizations and kind of going through a new website project periodically, because it's kind of like cleaning out your closet. You got a lot of stuff in there that needs to get out, that's dated, that may have misinformation at this point because it is old. And this allowed us the opportunity to cut that page number in half. What that means is you've got more relevant information on the website that's easier to find with less clutter. Again, trying to make this as user-friendly as we possibly can. There's a lot of important information out there we can't cut, but how do we pare it down as much as possible? That's been the goal. So what you'll find there, particularly on our news page of the website, is really a lot of meaningful, diverse content. We publish, as I said, because we have to tell our own story. We can't rely on the media to do it. About 3 to 5 original stories a day you will find on our website about Arlington-specific news. Our website quarterly visits to the webpage, the news page of our website, 850,000, and then the news page total has been almost a little over 8 million visits over the last 12 months. So we're getting a lot of traffic to our website. Some of that's just people wanting to come do their business, but if we can lure them in while they're there to read about the latest on the World Cup, or the latest on the budget, or the latest on road construction projects, that's the goal. We also track this, and these are the old council priorities here. We haven't had a chance to start going through because it's just begun. We're only in the first quarter of this new fiscal year, and council has changed some of the council priorities. But with the old council priorities, what we would do, and we'll start doing this certainly as we are writing more articles about the new priorities, is we'll track. How are we tracking our content to what the council priorities are? Council priorities are really focused on, if you look at them closely, this is how we should be investing our dollars. Each department, just to kind of pull the curtain back a little bit for you, is we're putting budget requests in every year. They have to be tied to a council priority. Council sets the objectives, and then we try to fund our programs based on the objectives that the council sets. As a result of that, we feel like our department needs to be telling those stories of how those investments of the council's priorities are happening. And so that's what you'll see, kind of the list of articles here, and we track this regularly. Our social media channels, and this used to be really the silver bullet of communications. It's becoming a little bit less and less of that as we see more diversification of communication channels out there, and people just going in different places to get their information. A lot of the algorithms are changing. It's still a very important tool for us, so you'll see a lot of our investment of time here. Facebook is by far our largest platform, but you'll see other platforms here where we do have a lot of different a pretty high number of followers where we're posting content. One of the ones that I'm actually most proud of is our Spanish Facebook page. And we really learned hard during the pandemic that we were not doing enough communication to our Spanish-speaking residents. And that was particularly important as we were living through the pandemic. Those early years, year of the pandemic, particularly as we're going into Christmas, if you'll remember, there was a real fear of massive spikes of the spread of COVID during the holiday season. And we had to figure out a way, how do we reach our residents to warn them about gathering during the holidays? Then once vaccines came out, how do we make sure they know about vaccines and where to get those vaccines? So we launched our Spanish Facebook page, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't know what our success would even look like. No other city had done that. We were the first in the country. And what we saw, I was like, maybe if we get 100 in the first month or two, I'll be happy. We had 1,000 within a week, and we're now at 30,000 followers in 5 years on our Spanish Facebook page. And the other thing that I love about it is, sometimes if you've been on social media, you may have noticed that there's some negativity occasionally on social media. We're kind of used to that. But on the Spanish Facebook page, what we have almost universally see is positive feedback. Residents saying, thank you for doing this. We appreciate you doing this. I don't think they expect it, and they're glad to see it in their language. And our content on there isn't always the same as what you'll see elsewhere. We make a concerted effort to make sure that the content that we post there and in our other Spanish language communication is really geared toward what would be important to them or of interest to them, which may be different than some of our other communities within Arlington, one of the most diverse cities in the country. We also do a lot of video programming. Our studio is just across the hall, but we have a video team that goes out, and the list of all the different types of videos that we do on a regular basis, whether this is monthly or weekly in some cases, telling people what to do over the weekend, the news that's happening in Arlington, those are weekly features, trying to work with the school district to kind of highlight some of our athletes within that. Obviously, we do an annual budget video, all these different types of things, again, trying to tell the stories of Arlington. And the interest, and this is some human interest as well, stories about Arlington. our reach here, and I was glad that John asked me to do this presentation because I had to start digging into some of the numbers and looking at it, and I was a little surprised to see that we've grown by almost 2 million views over the last 3 years each year of our video content. So you see that this is one of the reasons we invest a lot of time here is because it appears to be, from the data, one of the areas where our residents are really the most engaged in following us and getting news from the city. One of the other video series that we have been doing now for at least 12 years is our Dream Chapters. This is kind of some of these images here. These are, when I first got with the city, we launched our brand, which is the American Dream City. The goal with that is not to tell you what the American dream is, but to tell you that in Arlington you can achieve your American dream. And while your American dream may be one thing, yours may be something completely different, and yours may be something completely different. It can look different for everyone, but the city lays the foundation to enable you to live what your version of the American dream is. And so we've been able to tell these stories over the course of the year, now 161 different videos. Everything from some big names out there, Miles Garrett, or big country singers, football players. You see former Mayor Elsie Odom on there, Marion Morris, some of the big names, right? Some of the stories I like the most, though, are folks that, not a big name, but that have truly, because of Arlington, they immigrated here. They're a first-generation college graduate from the University of Texas at Arlington, and they're working at the GM plant, and all of that happened because Arlington allowed them to live their American dream. Those are the really cool stories that we're able to tell. These stories, I think, emphasize what we're all about as a community, and it helps us celebrate all of that and the diversity that we have here in our community. And we're now at almost a little over 4 million views of those over the course of the last 12 years. How many of you have downloaded the Ask Arlington app? Good number of you. Okay, we appreciate that. If you haven't, we'd appreciate you if you would. This is the perfect opportunity for you to stay engaged in Arlington. If you don't want to read the news all the time, that's not interesting to you, that's okay. What we do know is most people are interested in the pothole being fixed on their neighborhood road, the street light that's out in their neighborhood, the loose dog that they find, whatever it might be. You can do all of that on the Ask Arlington app. It enables you to go in, report all those different issues. You'll get notifications back saying that it's been received and the progress of that. And then hopefully, in a relatively short amount of time, you'll be able to receive how quickly the issue has been repaired. We just switched to a new app, so if you had downloaded the old app but you haven't engaged in the last year, if you're an Apple user, all you have to do is update the app and it will update to our new app. It's a different vendor. It has better geo-location services on it, which is helpful. It's streamlined a little bit, which also makes it a little more helpful, I think, for our residents. And you can see already, since we've done that, we're at about 19,000 downloads, 10,000 issues reported. We have about 2,000 remaining that the different departments are working on. Some of these are quick fixes. Potholes a quick fix. Street light that's out is a quick fix. Some of them, if it's a code complaint, takes a little bit of time to go out and investigate and send our crews out to give kind of a final determination on. But we really encourage you. This is a great way to help us make Arlington better by reporting these issues that you see on the app. As I mentioned, the Arlington Listens platform, it was new for us. And just to give, if you haven't spent much time on there, as I said, it allows you to do surveys. You can list FAQs. You can get a lot of Q&A, important links, all sorts of types of different information that we can't do on the regular platform. So we're excited about this, and we're excited to see how it kind of evolves as we do different projects. And again, hopefully involve the community more and more and engage them more and more. I wanted to give you a little bit of an example. I'd argue that the comp plan is pretty close to this in what we've done. But one of the most successful things we've done over the last few years is the trash cart transition, if you will. And I won't go through all these different things, but I wanted you to see the totality of all that we did over the course of the more than a year trying to get folks ready for the transition to carts. How many of you were excited, or at least maybe excited is a little strong word, but happy to say that we were transitioning from putting your bags out on the curb to carts? A few of you, okay. I was ecstatic. I thought it was weird when I moved here that I was having to put my trash in a trash bag out on the curb, and yet it just seemed weird to me. And so I was like, yes, please bring the cart as quickly as possible. Well, we understood that change is not easy for some folks. Some folks just like the way it's been done in the past, and this would take some getting used to. So that's why we invested a lot of energy and some dollars behind this to make sure that it actually was successful. In the end, we had about a $150,000 campaign here. Republic, our vendor, helped us with a lot of the dollars that we invested in that to make sure that we were able to reach everyone. The goal was at the end of this to make sure everyone knew. They didn't have to like it. We hoped they would, but they at least knew the transition was coming and it wasn't a surprise to anyone when their card arrived, right? And so we spent a lot of time invested in that. But at the end of the day, we had about a 97% adoption rate. And frankly, very little negative pushback or comments on any of our social media channels. Our council members also heard, I think similarly, not a lot of negativity on that as they were talking to their constituents. There's some little bit of a learning curve in certain areas, certainly on the transition, the days where we have a holiday in the middle of the week, which we're coming up on. Well, when does my trash get picked up? But we'll push more messaging out about that to keep reminding folks, so it just becomes kind of routine as we live with the carts here. So some ideas and some room for growth. We're not perfect, and we certainly don't think we are. And for that matter, communications is an ever-evolving field. Things are changing. As I said, there was a time social media was our silver bullet. It just isn't anymore. There was a time where we could rely on the media to tell us everything. It just isn't that way anymore. And so some of the things we'll start leaning into a little bit, I think, as you'll see, and I can't tell you how it's going to evolve, because it really, AI in particular, as you see the first bullet point there, is one of those things that is changing almost by the month in what it can do and what it can achieve. I can tell you we're on the verge of starting a pilot project to include an AI agent, virtual agent at the Action Center. I think that's a good way for us to start to test how does the technology work. How can we tweak it to make it work better for us? Is the voice agent the right way for that, or is it a behind-the-scenes agent that actually helps our in-person, live, if you will, call takers access information in a faster way so that they can answer more calls as a result of that, and that the residents who are on the phone with them don't have to stay on the phone as long as they're getting their issue resolved. We're going to figure that out. So we're doing a pilot project with that. So I think that's one of the areas where you see this. The clean data, making sure, and the website project was a part of this, but we've got to stay on top of it to make sure that what you find on the website is accurate, that it is the most up-to-date, and that it is nothing unnecessary is out there, that we're keeping it lean and not letting it grow and grow and grow, is what can typically happen. That navigation, another component of where we see some innovations happening. We're going to continue to work on that to make sure that we don't revert back to kind of an old school website. It can happen, and so we have to really stay on top of that. And we'll continue to, and there are some old school options that are out there. Our former mayor used to joke with me that Jay, not everyone knows what's happening. And I'm like, well, I understand that. And I used to say he wouldn't be happy until everyone knew it and everyone was happy about it, which I don't think we can accomplish all that. And in fact, trying to make sure everyone even knows about it is really hard, and it's also expensive. The one way we could do that is sending a newsletter out. That's an expensive proposition. We did a little research on it, and I was kind of priming the council at the time. It's been about probably 6 or 7 years ago, to say, look, this is if you want to make sure that we're getting something in everyone's hand, a newsletter is the way to do it. But our survey data that we got back, scientific survey data, showed that the vast majority actually wanted an e-newsletter. They didn't want a mail newsletter. And so that's when we launched our e-newsletter program. But an old school kind of mailing a newsletter is an option out there. It's just very expensive. So if it's where the council wants to invest money, we certainly can do that. I would call it an old school way of doing things, but it ensures that it's at everyone's doorstep. So there's an advantage to it for sure. And as we continue to strive for success, I think streamlining our information more and more, we want to make things as friendly as possible, as user-friendly as possible, and as least cumbersome as possible, right? So streamlining that, I think, is really important. People don't want to spend a lot of time on the city website, and we don't expect them to. If you're spending a lot of time on the website, it probably means it's not organized very well. You're there for a mission, you go in, you do your business, and then you get off, right? And so We'll continue to work on that. Consistency, I think, is very important, making sure that we have consistent branding, consistent storytelling, that there's a common thread and theme through everything that we do. Our budget videos that we do every year, we really strive to make those as user-friendly and easy to understand as possible, and continuing to do that. We don't want to preach at people. We're just trying to explain how the process works. And then finally, ADA compliance is another big component that we'll be tackling over the next, I'd say 5 or 6 months before April, when a deadline hits, that we really have to get a lot of our online content is already, as I would argue, in a very good place, but there are some more rules that we need to make sure that we're covering to make sure that we're fully ADA compliant on PDFs and other things, and working toward that so that we don't have any type of accessibility issue with any of our content, whether it's social media or certainly on our website or our apps or any of the other type of technology. So I've talked a long time, and I apologize for that, but I'll be happy to answer any questions you all have this evening.
So when you did the trash change,
Yes.
where did you come up with your plan? Did you study other cities? Did you do AI? How do we do this? It comes up with a 700-point list. Tell me about your process on how you came up with the plan for the trash changes.
Absolutely. So we did lean on looking what other cities have done. Republic Service, we weren't the first city that Republic Services has shifted to the automated trash cart collection. Reno was another one, and we were able to look at what they did in Reno. At this point, again, AI is evolving, and it's evolving quickly. I don't remember going to AI for that. I think I would today, but it's changed a little bit in the last year or two. So we looked at, yes, what other cities did, and then the creativity of our own team, and what can we build, knowing what our channels are. Every community is a little different, and so you can't just take someone else's plan off the book and insert it into Arlington and say that's going to work. We have to tailor it to what our community, how they consume news, and the different channels that we have that are available to us. Some cities are still doing mailed newsletters, as an example. That wasn't an option for us. So how do we circumvent that? In this case, we did send out a postcard to every resident. And let me put a caveat on that. Typically, I would say we reached everyone by sending it to the water bill, our water bill customers. That's about 90,000 different accounts. In this instance, though, we would have missed everyone who's renting and they do not have their own water account, because it's an account held by the landlord or the person who owns the property, the home that they're renting. And there's a sizable portion of that here in Arlington. So we were able to use a different service within the U.S. Postal Service that allowed us to make sure that postcard got to every single house and resident in Arlington to make sure that they had the information. So we tweaked it to make it work for us, for sure.
Any other questions?
Ken?
Yes, yeah, just state your name and we're good to go.
This is Anthony Powell, and I was just going to add briefly to what Nina and Taylor had already added about the understanding what other plans that have been done around the country. I think it might be important to make sure that we take the outbound messages as well as the inbound requests or inquisitions that are taking place and kind of separate the two, not just kind of capture the whole thing, but understand how many people are actually coming to us about the comprehensive plan specifically. So just a minor point there.
Absolutely. We've been monitoring that. I think the Listens platform allows us to do that much more than anything we've had in the past. The website wouldn't have allowed that as an example, but that Listens platform allows us to do that. Social media obviously does too. But what we like about the Listens platform is I think it allows for more engagement and less negativity. Sometimes on the social media, what you get is just kind of a negative feedback loop, and it's not always helpful. What we're looking for, and I know you guys want, is real engagement that will tell you what people really want, right? And so I've been pleased with how the Listens platform has worked. We're continuing to grow it, and I think there's got a lot of different tools that we can use that we can expand as well. So thank you for that.
Yeah, Zach Graves. So it looks like, based on your numbers there, you guys have spent quite a bit of budget and effort and resources to build up a news team and a group that's putting out a really high quality media. I've seen a lot of the videos, a lot of the articles. I think pretty highly of them. And you said that's kind of happening at the same time that traditional media or third-party media has maybe backed off a little bit. Even with all the good work that, we're doing internally, is there something that those third-party media, traditional media, that an advantage that they have that we have trouble replicating, or can we fully replicate what was lost by having them back off? And then, and if that is so, is there a way that we can encourage that? Or is there anything we can do to build up those relationships?
No, it's a good question, and no, we cannot fully supplant what they do. There's no way. I mean, the legacy media, even though they have a shrinking kind of attention of the public, without a doubt, they're still very important. And we dedicate a lot of time to media relations, whether it's answering reporter questions or proactively reaching out to them. Comp plan's a classic example. We haven't had a reporter reach out to us about it. We've been reaching out to them, asking them to cover it and do stories and other things on it. So we'll continue to always do that. We actually just started a relationship with the Arlington Report and the Fort Worth Report, and met with the editor and have been able to now start actually putting our own stories on their site. So it allows us to, I kind of know what my world is, but if I can get our content on their site, that's a whole new world, right? And so I think that's really, really important. So we consider the media a partner, and certainly don't want to indicate that there's even adversarial or that they're completely out of our world. It's a part of the strategy. It just can't be the whole strategy anymore like it once was. So it's the reason we're investing this much in it. I would also say, that one of the important things that would help us a lot is for everyone who's here, and if you could encourage your neighbors and your friends to also follow us and also share our content. Again, I know what my universe is, and I know what I can reach on. You saw the numbers. We got about 112,000 people on Facebook. You saw the LinkedIn numbers, the X numbers, all those different platforms. But that's my universe, if you will. You've got a different following. You've got a different following. Everyone at the table has different friends and different people on their social media platforms that you engage with that may very well have never engaged with the city of Arlington, right? So the extent that we can get other folks to share our content, that starts to mushroom out and we can reach a much larger audience. And so we really appreciate that. The other thing is if you're doing that and you start seeing some negative, particularly on the comp plan, but other areas where you see some negative content comments that you don't think are exactly accurate or fair on any of our social media posts, it's much more meaningful if folks like you who are engaged in our community are coming out and saying, wait a minute, well, here's some information that might be helpful to you, or that's not what I understood about this. That goes a lot further than anything that I could do or that my team could do. Us defending ourselves is not nearly as effective as you all defending some of these things. We may not always be right, and you may not always agree with the story. That's okay. But if you see that and you think, we could help with the understanding of this. We could help educate a little bit on this. That could be a big help to us as well.
Nia Henderson, I'm glad that you said that and you brought it up. My concern is that, okay, that sounds great. Please arm us. Let's make it idiot-proof, so to speak, counting myself. Make it easy for me to do that. Give me a QR code. I can just open up that photo on my phone and say, here, friend, just scan that. It'll take you exactly where you want to go. Make it really easy for us. I also am reminded of the Yahoo story and how Yahoo became so successful. Does every city employee have something about the strategic plan on the bottom of their email or a QR code that they can share with people as well? Those are all good resources. I also know that wayfinding is a part of our initiative that we're considering putting around our city, our wayfinding signs. And I know that during both Grand Prix and World Cup, that we will have to have at least something temporary for wayfinding. Is there a way that we can utilize this information? Because between now and Grand Prix and World Cup, we're going to have lots of visitors, but also lots of locals checking out where things are going to be. Make it easy for our locals and let us point it out. So give us a tool that we can do that with. But I think when it's in our face, then it's, what does that mean? Oh, what is that all about? Mm-hmm. There are lots of curious people, and they're the people who've lived here the longest that don't know what's going on in the city. So I would just ask for those tools as well, because I noticed that they're not on the list, and maybe this is a part of the plan that we're putting together. I don't know.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
the Orange Barrel Media, if you got out to the entertainment district recently, and I drive through it every day, so I see some of it because it's my commute home and to work. But they've got these big, beautiful billboards, which are fun. But they've got a lot of kiosks that are going up, and I think we've scratched the surface on what's going to happen between now and particularly the World Cup. A lot of wayfinding will happen on those signs. There's if you drive down Center Street there by Callaway's, a new one's been installed there. So now, granted, all those are in the entertainment district where we have a lot of pedestrian traffic and it's pedestrian friendly. So you see a lot going on out there, and digital message boards are also going to be starting to installed in some of those areas more permanently, and not the portable ones that will also allow for traffic management and kind of the types of things that will help with that. So good ideas, and you're going to see. I think you'll start seeing more and more of that.
But my point is that we can utilize that signage to direct people to Innovate Arlington and to inform themselves about that, not just to find their way around. Can we get that be part of that space, as well as in Texas Live and in Lowe's Hotel, in our partners, because they are our partners? Will they gift us that if we give them the tools?
Yeah, we've certainly talked with them about it. I get a limited bandwidth to work with some of those partners, and we have to be careful about what we're advertising and what we're communicating in some venues versus other venues. And I'd have to analyze how much of the traffic is visitors that are not going to really have an interest in Innovate Arlington versus residents, where we might be able to reach them in a different way to engage them, to make sure that, again, this gets back from the spaghetti at the wall strategy versus the surgical strategy, and how do we make sure that we're getting the right information to the right people? And so I'd have to do some more investigating on that. But I appreciate the suggestion, and we'll look into it.
Okay, Anthony?
Anthony Powell, just, Nina, you always prompt me with other thoughts. So I was just curious, do we have plans for the international visitors that'll be coming to Arlington to get their input to some of the plans and things that we're doing? It might be interesting. Hopefully this is not the first and only time that we host, the grand scale national or international events. And it might be interesting not just to get residents' input, but get those that are visiting the city to see what they say about Arlington, or what, their feedback is about what we're doing and how we're doing it. So.
It's an interesting suggestion. I can tell you, I do not have that as a part of my plan, and I would have to defer to Jinsey and John as to whether that was something that they want as a part of this process or not. If it becomes a directive, we can certainly try to do that, but it has not been a part of our current strategy.
Okay.
The tagline for the plan, and John Chapman, the tagline for the plan has really been community-driven in terms of what it is that our policy direction is looking at. So I think we want to kind of be mindful on making sure that what Arlington residents are getting out of the plan is
Their
really
first
driven by
priority,
them.
for sure.
But we can explore opportunities to understand how can we make the EDO or the entertainment district even better for them as an experience. That that can be more of a niche topic within Innovate Arlington.
Okay, no, sounds good. One thing I'll just mention, since the mic's open, is one thing I really like in terms of communication is the 3 things to know in Arlington that comes out weekly, because it's just, it's concise, it's to the point, it's something that you can take away, and whether you want to pass it on to other people or however you want to do it, it really is a good job of kind of hitting the top 3 things that are happening in Arlington that week. So.
Well, I appreciate that, and it's good feedback for us, because that is part of our e-newsletter, but it's a constantly evolving and changing process. So we changed that about a year ago, kind of started experimenting. The open rate improved, so we thought maybe it's working, but it's helpful feedback for me to pass along to the team. So thank you for that.
Yes.
Aftab Siddiqui, thank you very much for a lot of good work that you guys have done. It is really commendable, especially that your outreach to the Hispanic community. That was really encouraging. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay, all right.
Very good. Well, again, thank you all for all that you're doing for our community. You probably don't get thanked enough, but truly know that we're very appreciative here at City Hall for the investment in time and energy that you're making into making Arlington a better place, and truly even better for the American Dream City. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. All right, at this time, we're going to take a short break, maybe 5 minutes, while we're going to set up virtually for the next section. Or are we moving on? There's more.
Yes, we'll go through the Office of Strategic Initiatives, Planning and Development Services, and then.
Not here.
And then we'll go to the next item.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Jacob Browning. I am a Strategic Initiatives Manager with the Strategic Initiatives Office and also serve as the Historic Preservation Officer for the City of Arlington. I'm here tonight with my amazing colleague, Cynthia Cruz, and we are here to kind of give you kind of a more localized view of community engagement with our residents and neighborhoods. Jay kind of gave you a sweeping macro level view of how his office communicates with the city. We're going to kind of bring it down to the localized level here. So the Office of Strategic Initiatives sits within the city manager's office. We report directly to Trey Yelverton, our city manager. And the Strategic Initiatives Office kind of is, for lack of a better term, the kitchen sink for the city. So we kind of address a lot of different topics and a lot of different programs through our office. I'm over the neighborhood engagement programs, the historic preservation, and the Arlington Urban Design Center. We also touch on special projects, real estate, and research and analytics. We are a small but mighty team of two, serving as a resource for our residents to help build up their community and better engage with the city on issues that directly impact their neighborhoods. I'll go into specific details about some of the programs here in just the next few slides. Our programs fall into 3 different buckets across the spectrum of from passive to active engagement opportunities as you move left to right in that table. Programs on the left require little engagement on residents' part, but as you move further to the right, the programs require more engagement. The reasoning behind this is, as residents become more actively engaged with the city and each other, they build a strong organizational foundation for their neighborhood from which social and capital investments grow and thrive. We have, actually Cynthia started our we have an e-newsletter that goes out every month as well. It's called the Neighborhood Update. I don't know if y'all receive that on a monthly basis, but it's kind of more targeted to neighborhood programs. We have our Neighborhood Leadership Network. Has anybody attended one of our NLN meetings? I know at least one of you have. These are quarterly meetings that convene residents and neighborhood leaders to learn about different topics in the city. We had our last meeting back in November where we talked about the World Cup and the IndyCar race and those impacts on the city and specifically the neighborhoods around the entertainment district. We also have our neighborhood matching grant program that is probably arguably our flagship program, where we offer grants of up to $25,000 for neighborhood beautification projects and capacity building projects. Has anyone here lived in a neighborhood that has received one of those grants? Awesome. What was your grant that you got? That's good money spent, I guess, yeah. And Tony?
And Anthony Powell, again, the North Central Historic Neighborhood Association, as we were forming, we received a grant and are in the process of utilizing that for neighborhood identification and building, so.
Awesome. Anyone else? Okay. We also have the block party trailer. Anybody use that? That's the North Central Historic Neighborhoods. This is a free resource that we offer our neighborhoods to really engage with one another and each other. You sign up on our website or email us and we can get you this trailer delivered to your neighborhood that contains everything you need to host a block party. Tables, chairs, games, barricades, anything you name it, it's probably in that trailer. We also support the Arlington Home Improvement Incentive Program, or AHIP. That is where we provide a rebate on the city portion of your tax receipt up to $5,000 after significant improvements have been made to your home. In addition to all those programs, we also do neighborhood planning. This is and requires the most investment, time, and effort of residents as we work with them to create a policy document that will guide the future growth and development of the community. Think of it as kind of a comprehensive plan, but on a smaller scale. Neighborhood plans contain goals and strategies that address a multitude of issues in specific areas, including transportation, open space, code issues, and oftentimes land use and other development guidelines. So why do we go through this effort? We want communities' quality of life to improve by community capacity building, increasing collaboration, and empowering our residents to address neighborhood issues. The neighborhood planning was born out of the sector plans from the mid-1990s. The city was split into 6 different sectors with plans developed for each. And each of those sector plans assembled into a comprehensive plan in the early 2000s, which predates the 99 square miles, the current comprehensive plan for the city. The neighborhood plan served as a building block to support the sector plan on a localized level, which supports the overall strength of the city through the comp plan. Neighborhood planning here in Arlington doesn't differ much from neighborhood planning in other cities. It usually begins with a council initiation, and it moves to our office where we consult with the neighborhood to kind of understand why they want a neighborhood plan. And really to identify the stakeholders and kind of start formulating those recommendations for the plan. We form a neighborhood steering committee, not unlike this group here, but just again on a smaller scale. And in the public outreach phase, we gather background information and begin a demographic analysis of the area. At the public meetings, stakeholders identify neighborhood issues and strategies to address those issues, which help to inform the plan's recommendations. The plan then is finalized, it goes through the public hearing process through planning and zoning, and then city council, and then is adopted. Elements of each of those neighborhood plans include a demographic and neighborhood profile, an analysis of neighborhood conditions and issues, a vision statement, and then goals and implementation strategies that address that vision statement. Upon adoption, the neighborhood plan then becomes an amendment to the 99 square miles, the city's current comprehensive plan. And I will say most of the plans that we have adopted contain the same wish list, which includes a safe and clean place to live, access to parks, and safe ways to get around. Since 2006, we have adopted 9 neighborhood plans, with the most recent one being the North Central Historic Neighborhoods Area Plan in 2023. And then once a neighborhood plan is adopted, residents must take it upon themselves to work with the city or other organizations to implement each action item. In addition to neighborhood planning, the Strategic Initiatives Office supports other planning processes, including corridor, strategic, and design plans that offer a comprehensive approach to land use, transportation, or development along certain thoroughfares or in particular areas. And since 2012, 8 strategic corridor or design plans have been adopted by council. Since I started 2 years ago in this office, it was apparent that we did not have a dedicated database of neighborhood contacts. So it was incumbent upon us to kind of create a more comprehensive database. And this is kind of our new pilot program that we've started this year. It's called the Neighborhood Directory. And it's to foster better connections between neighborhoods, the city of Arlington, and other interested parties. What we do is we're creating a web-based map that shows neighborhood boundaries and contact information for each of those neighborhoods that can be used to notify those organizations of any development activity nearby. Has anyone signed up? I know North Central has. Has anyone signed up in this group or aware of their neighborhood being included in this directory? If you want to be part of this directory, go to our website. You see down at the bottom there, we have an application that you can sign up for, and we'll get you included on the map. Currently, we sit at about 46 neighborhoods that have signed up, and we want to make it a little more comprehensive, so if you know of anyone that wants to sign up, please do so, and we'll get you on there. Yeah.
Bruce Dalton.
What's the typical resident size of a neighborhood? I mean, are you talking 6 blocks or 600 people, or what are you talking about?
It really depends on the neighborhood and how it was developed. So we worked with neighborhoods that are like 12 homes, or we worked with neighborhoods that are 1,200 residents. So, I mean, it just depends on the boundaries of the neighborhood and how that was established. So planning challenges that we run into, and this is not uncommon in any city that I've worked in or any planner that does planning, really. We want to ensure that the right audience is reached and included in all of our planning processes. We want to plan for the right intentions. Are we just planning just to plan, or really we want to understand why a neighborhood plan is really needed for this area? We want to reach consensus on contentious issues. I knew I would stumble across that statement. And finding capital to implement projects, that is really kind of the biggest challenge we have. We have all these lofty goals that want to go into these plans, and then we run into the kind of the funding ability or inability to really support some of those ideas that come out of the planning process. And then sometimes we shelve the plan and kind of forget about it. And then the process just kind of reintroduces itself when we do it all over again, sometimes in the same area. So we really don't want to be doing that in our neighborhood planning process. We don't want to be doing that in the comprehensive planning process, or really any planning process in Arlington. So these are just kind of thoughts that we want to kind of throw at y'all tonight and see how Innovate Arlington and the comp plan process.
Another question on the neighborhoods. So are you working with the homeowner associations? Are they the ones that are setting the boundaries?
Typically, yes. That's who we work with mostly because of those are the most established organizations in the city, yes.
Taylor Oldroyd. My suggestion is if the neighborhood program wants to be more sophisticated or whatever, I think it would take the council or the city to define the neighborhoods and have a set number and kind of define the world. When it's not defined, it's kind of harder for you to engage them also. Maybe there needs to be a discussion at a higher level to define the neighborhoods and give you your world and then let you go to it. I think it's when you're hoping it grows organically from the neighborhoods, then you're kind of dependent on the enthusiasm of a neighborhood chair or somebody like that. In other communities I've lived in, they had defined neighborhoods, they had neighborhood chairs appointed, and it was a lot more robust. So I think maybe that needs to happen at whether it's council or city manager's level. Just a suggestion.
All right. And if y'all have any questions after this meeting, our contact information is in the presentation, so we're happy to help with anything in the future.
If I may.
Yes.
Going back to your slide, Jacob, Jinsey Dopel, Planning and Development Services Director. So just on that big moves part of it, how everything that Jacob talked about relates to the Innovate Arlington project. So if I might ask you, is there any one group of people that you think we have not got their engagement or reached out to? Is there any such group that you can think of? Posing that question because we want to make sure we're reaching out to everybody.
I have a comment to make on that. I think the hardest part is when you don't have a homeowners association and you have a neighborhood that's defined streets, people are busy, they have jobs, they have, careers. It's hard to reach them. It's hard to get engagement from them unless there is a problem. And then they'll contact the city or their council person. And so I think the city council, that's going to be the citizens that reach out to them are most likely going to be able to get some direction, and we could find out more from them. But it is a challenge if you don't have a leader in a neighborhood. And so many neighborhoods are established, and the older generations are leaving, and new people are coming in. And sometimes you don't have that community that's tight-knit, that has a group that's going to be engaged as easy.
That was a problem previously too. We did have like a neighborhood network or group that we had created, and we kept it up for like 9 or 10 years. But when their leaders change, if they don't let us know about it, there's just no way to keep that updated. So it was a struggle to keep maintaining that list that we had. It does need to somehow come from the neighborhoods to be more engaged. I know, Taylor, you talked about city creating those neighborhoods. We could do that in the beginning, but then what happens again when there is the changeovers that happens? How does that then get updated? That is a question that we still don't know how to resolve. So that's one thing. What do you think, going back to the consensus on contentious issues, what do you think would come up as the most contentious issue in the Innovate Arlington? Yes.
Kirsten Zadger, I had an answer for your previous question. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, yeah.
I work in education, so I'm always thinking about children. I would say, I'm not saying like kids per se, but kids, I mean, high school students are the ones that'll be like adults when this plan is like being carried out. And so going to like schools, especially right now, there's lots of like Christmas choir concerts. I mean, people are gonna show up for their kids. Like, I danced at Seguin High School. My parents was at every game, every football game, all 10 for 4 years, no matter where I was. So they're gonna show up for their kids. So I would definitely say, like, taking advantage of those opportunities, I mean, because it's already in their neighborhoods, and they are gonna come out for those things. I know they had like a toy drive. That's a way to get information out to like families who wouldn't necessarily seek that information because they have so many other things that they're focused on. So possibly like being at events like that, I believe in going to the thing that already exists instead of trying to create an event, but like just being where the people will already be. That's my thought. Because students, like, this is just Arlington, like, this is just home to them. They're not thinking about their future and like staying here per se, so.
Good, thank you.
I do have a comment for your last question, but I want to go back with Kirsten. And Taylor whispered this because he knows it's my passion. Seniors, and I'm specifically talking about people that are over 75, because right now I think their priorities are simply health, family, and living where they live. I don't think they know what to ask for, and it is not their way to ask for something, because all their lives they've had to create their own reality, and now they don't really know except for age in place or go to a nursing home, and they don't really want to do either one of those, and we don't have a place for them, and nobody's asking them. We had some engagement throughout the game process with our seniors, but not significant, even close being compared to their number. And at that stage, I discovered that they don't really know what all of the neighborhoods are or what the options are unless someone my age, younger, and I'm not younger, but unless someone pushes that to them, they only watch the main news channels, they only receive texts or get information at the senior center or their churches, or they're a few small people, a handful of people. So if your 5 main people don't know about it, they're going to get missed. And so engaging in that way, and I don't know exactly what the numbers are at active, But I do know that when you look at the numbers, we're not getting 10% of the seniors at active that we have living here. And heaven forbid we talk about the silent generation, because they don't want any part of technology. How are we going to ask them what they want? They just want to love and be loved. So that, to me, those are the people that we're missing. And I would also add immigrants, because they're afraid of being caught. I'm not making a political statement. I know people, and they're just afraid. So why would I let my voice be heard? For you to know what I want. They're watching on Facebook, they're glad to have it, but they're afraid, and they're going to be part of our community whether we like it or not. So those are my concerns. Now, remind me what your last question was?
Contentious issue in the Innovate Arlington. Anything that you all anticipate could become a contentious issue?
It's always going to be the NIMBYs. People who want it to be like it's always done, you can change it after I'm gone. And we just got an action in this last week based on that, which was really hard. So I think there are people who just want it a certain way, and they're going to be mad, but they own their house, they're going to pay their taxes, and they're going to have to, pardon the phrase, suck it up, Buttercup, because the majority has said this is where we're going with our plan. The question is, will their voices be loud enough? And I think young people are going to not share their voices until there's something for them to rally against. So we either have to be mind readers and know what they want, or we're going to have to face their wrath, because they will be loud. Anyway, that's my opinion. I'll think about it some more. Thank you.
To address that on the contentious issue, I think people, if you're going to roll out a program, they're going to want to know what the cost is. What are my taxes going to be, especially when you're talking about my generation? Because we're not making more money, we're living on the money that's coming in. So that would be, and going back to the time when you're talking about the trash carts, that was the contentious issue, because we were seeing a reduction of services and paying more money each month for that. Now, I've been to live with that, I like the carts, but that was a big concern. How much more money is that going to cost us?
Point.
Aftab Siddiqui, the answer, one of the concerns that I think that can happen as a contentious issue could be any incident at one of those gas drilling sites. And I don't know, we haven't really talked more about the safety issues and environmental issues relating to that, but anytime in case of an incident, we can certainly see lots of concerns over there. Thank you.
Thank you. I think there's more.
Yeah, so this is Zach Graves. Just thinking through what could come out of the Innovate Arlington framework that could end up being a contentious issue is, and I guess it depends on how we end up going the next few months and how far we go, or what we end up proposing or limiting is regarding transportation. I think that's going to be something, whether more traditional transportation, roadway infrastructure, or if that's going to be more of a transit related. That's obviously been something in our city for a long time that's been a issue, and I expect, regardless of whatever comes out of the plan, there's going to be a lot of people with opinions on it. I know I've already heard a lot of that. I'm sure other people have as well.
Thank you, Zach.
I just thought of another one that could be contentious down the road is the decision to continue to invest in the entertainment district, and whether that be additional sports teams or stadiums or things of that nature, or, the unspoken thing about, at some point, consideration of casinos, and whether, the casino would be a thing that would be an appropriate thing for Arlington and for the entertainment district.
I have a comment to make on the entertainment district. I think that some citizens feel kind of disconnected to the entertainment district. I do believe that. And some of them feel that their tax dollars are being used for just one little area and it doesn't, what is their benefit? And so I think it could be contentious if taxpayer money is used to develop things in the entertainment district. It always does seem to be contentious. And if there was a way to have the citizens not as disconnected, which I know is difficult, I think that would help. I do know that there were some people that some of the new attractions in Arlington, they felt some of the citizens were feeling like, well, they don't really care, they don't really want us. They want everybody else but us to attend these things. And it may not be true, but that's how some of the people are feeling. So that could be an area that, we could study to how would we make the citizens feel like they're getting their benefit for the tax dollars. I know you could say, oh, yes, well, when we do invest, we get all this back that pays for city services and, all those things. So anyway, that's just something that I thought I might bring up that could be contentious.
Yeah. I do remember when the National Medal of Honor Museum was opened, there was a day that was announced through all social media that all Arlington residents would be able to go there for free to tour the museum. So that was one start kind of to show, it is for Arlington residents to enjoy this benefit that we have. All right, thank you. That's it. Oh, I'll go there.
Yes.
I'll try to finish mine faster because we have to get the consultants in. So Planning and Development Services Department, I'm the director for this department. I've been with the city for close to 21 years now. I have been the director for the past 8 years. Thank you, Jacob and Cynthia, and I've been in different areas of the department, but still stayed with the department. This department has around 70 people, and what we do is a lot of different things. The mission statement, I would say, is working together to make Arlington a premier city by engaging in visionary planning, building vibrant neighborhoods, and serving our residents, businesses, and visitors. The way I would put the department into blocks would be more like planning services, which is John's area with visionary planning part, land development services and building services, which is the building of vibrant neighborhoods, and then again, building services and health services that forms the serving part for our residents, businesses, and visitors. There's also a gas well team that fits into both the land development as well as the serving. And then we have a business services group, and that is a group that supports all the divisions and keeps a check on the revenue that's coming to this department or to the city. And then, so what we do I'm not going to go into all of the serving part. More than that, I will talk about the visionary planning and then how that transforms into the development part. So to implement the vision that comes out of adopted plans, right? So neighborhood plans, we talked about neighborhood plans, downtown master plan, comprehensive plan, all these different plans that council will adopt has a vision. How does this vision become something that somebody can digest and make a development out of it? That is what the regulations come into play. So we take that vision, simplify it with an interpretation that is consistent for all to develop. That is what the Unified Development Code does for us. There's other codes also that take that and some parts of it and make it into standards, but Unified Development Code is what is going to be utilized for all types of developments that come into Arlington. So previously, it was split into two different documents. One was called the zoning ordinance, and the other was called the subdivision regulations ordinance. In 2014, we combined both of this into one document called as the Unified Development Code, again, trying to simplify it for our users, our developers, our residents, how to use these standards. Having it in one place was the way to do. So these are some of the items that comes from the Unified Development Code, but all of these are things that we have already talked about in the vision part of it that we are trying to reflect into the standards. I won't go into all of that. And then what happens? So you have a long-range plan created, a neighborhood plan or a downtown master plan, and it will typically have like a page of how is it going to be executed or implemented. So there will be a short-term implementation and a long-term implementation strategy board that's created with every plan. And what happens is those goals will be put, and then there will be a column about which departments are going to lead that effort. So we have that, right? So departmental execution is put in there. Similarly, when a corridor or area-specific strategy is adopted, we would have land use policies for those corridors. And again, all department heads are notified, hey, this is where the vision is. So from city perspective, everybody's knowing what's happening. Each department head knows about it, and they are talking about it with their staff. Neighborhood plans, when neighborhood plans get implemented, what happens with those plans? We use those plans for any development project that comes in for zoning entitlement. We look at the neighborhood plans. What did the neighborhood plan say for that site? But it's also utilized when capital improvement projects happen. So bond program is created. Every department is looking at what were the plans saying? Was this street supposed to be widened? What was the vision of the neighborhood? So those are the ways we use the neighborhood plans as well. And then, of course, we have to have the ongoing evaluation of those plans. Otherwise, it just stays in the shelf and nothing happens if there is not an ongoing evaluation and update to it. Here on the right-hand side, what you see is an example from award-winning Charlotte Future 2040 comprehensive plan. And again, it shows a comprehensive, first row is a comprehensive plan. If you're thinking of a comprehensive vision, what's the plan that comes with it is a comprehensive plan, and what should be a approximate frequency for update to it. It's the plan is for 20 years, and major updates needs to happen every 10 years. There could be changes with implementation strategies that should happen every 5 years. So that's kind of the example that they have put for them. If there's a county-wide effort or a function that needs to be looked at, then there are plans for that, like a mobility strategic plan. That was a county-wide effort for Charlotte there. Tree canopy action plan. Charlotte bikes, all those are more on the county side or the regional side. And for that, the plan was for 10 years. They built it for 10 years, and every major update for that is for 5 years. Similarly, you have community areas, and then there are specific areas like corridor plans. Again, that depends upon a lot of different factors, how soon you should be updating it. 360 corridor, right? When we knew that there is the toll roads going to come in, time to update that corridor plan because there are going to be so many changes occurring because of that specific thing. So some things can trigger the need to update a plan as well. What's our development process like? Some of you have probably experienced that with any of your projects that you've brought to us. Typically, we try to have like a pre-application. If you have a site, and I would say ours is a department that makes dreams into reality. So we'll go with that. And I have heard that from a few of our customers as well. When things go and, they get to a point where they've got a certificate of occupancy, they started with a dream, and our department guided them through that dream to get to the point of actually being in business. So that's what we do, and we're proud of that. We have a pre-application meeting or a pre-development consultation meeting with somebody who is just thinking of an idea. This is what I'm thinking I could do on this. What do you think? And so there's that meeting that we have with them to think about, okay, be careful about these things, that if you want to do this, let's do it this way. Think about we'll bring all the standards together and present it to them to kind of make sure that this is exactly what you want to do. And if this is exactly what you want to do, this is what are the next steps for you. And so we lay it out to them, and then they have the application submittal, review and resubmittal. It goes for public hearings if it is a zoning case, and then it goes to Planning and Zoning Commission and then City Council. Typically for a zoning process, it would take 4 months, I would say. Some stagger on, and it takes longer than that. And it's not because because we're not doing something here. It's many a times because the developer is trying to rethink through the project. They change, like they go one time to Planning and Zoning Commission, and they hear different concerns that's brought up from the commission about their project that makes them rethink the project too. And sometimes those projects become really much better projects and they come back. So there is a pause time on some applications that happen, but those are the ones that can go up to a year, I would say. But we have on our website a whole land development process guides and videos that we created because we heard from everybody, it's so cumbersome, I can't understand this. So we've come up with this 30-second video, 1-minute video, just to explain some of those processes. And this process improvement is a continuous process improvement. So I'm not saying that we are perfect. We are trying to keep improving our processes every minute. So here, this is where I really want to focus a little bit time on. We create these plans, and it's all adopted, spend a lot of time on that, and sometimes the market just shifts, right? And that's something that we didn't expect, you didn't expect, and it just happened. And so, for example, when COVID happened, right? What happened to the restaurants during that time? It was a mess. We didn't know how to keep things going with businesses, but we knew that restaurants are the businesses that people still really want to get food from. In our regulations in the Unified Development Code, it says drive-throughs are only permitted through a specific use permit process that goes through Planning and Zoning Commission, City Council for approval, which would take at least 4 months. There was no time to sit and wait for people to come apply for a specific use permit, we started allowing by policy, if you want to have a drive-through in your restaurant, we will allow it. Just come to us, we'll permit you that to make that happen. And so we had to shift things around very quickly to make it work for our businesses. So that was a reactive thing that happened because we cannot really predict COVID, right? So similar, but there could be some things that we could start predicting what the market trend could be. Housing affordability was one that also came about. And we started looking at, people came in for zoning cases with smaller lots. Many of them have been approved. Multifamily was another one that came in a lot more. So if you think about our plans, we have a strategy, and that's where I would focus on the third point, balancing what we want and where the market is going. And that sometimes is changes in profitable development products. So what I want to say is multifamily was becoming a very profitable business for the developers, for the people running the multifamily, right? So people wanted to bring in those projects, like for every undeveloped piece of land that we had, commercial zone land, people were coming in for multifamily. And because it was profitable for the developers, at that time, city had to put a pause and kind of think, is this the right location for the multifamily to go in? Do we really want to forego our vision for the commercial project that we really, really wanted at that location and replace it with a multifamily project? So that's one thing, that balancing act of what did our plan say versus what is it that's happening today? Also knowing that we do need to have a higher supply of housing so that we can bring the rental prices down and the housing prices. So there's a lot of different things to juggle and think through when these development projects come in. But again, which are the sites that council would want to stay firm on what the vision was? So there will be some sites that there will be like a pride moment for them, that no, this is a site we are willing to wait on to get the right product we want at that location. But then there will be sites that this balancing act could go in that direction, and we would approve something that is not planned for in a neighborhood plan or something else. And then another action that comes up is legislative actions. SB 840 came in saying that multifamily is now allowed in all non-residential zoning districts. That's fine, but what about all the vision and everything that we planned with different neighborhoods? The 9 neighborhood plans that have been adopted, they have locations within their neighborhoods that they have marked, this should be for these types of uses. And they had not thought of multifamily as a use to go in that location. But now if somebody comes to us with a development, it's just allowed by right. And so the neighborhood's residents come back and say, what are you all doing? You know, that's not what we had planned for this, but this action happens and that supersedes everything else that we have. So those kinds of things also play into picture that I just wanted to bring up to y'all to know what all happens in our world. AI is another one that we are really thinking through how that can help us, and how it can help the development community, how it can help speed things for us. And we are doing quite a bit in that in terms of our permitting software. We have just signed a contract with a vendor that can help us bring AI into our permitting software. We have another contract with another vendor that will do pre-plan checks for our customers before they submit a plan, so that it's already giving them an understanding, hey, these are the things you need to fix before you submit, so it doesn't take that time for them to wait on staff to review for the next 5 days, then we give out comments. And so it's faster for them also, and it's efficient for staff time also to utilize those things. So with all of those things, there's also this other question that I have is, okay, we're putting a lot of information out there, right? What does that do? Many people today come with open records requests. And we are only giving out plans that don't have these stamped professional seals, right? So if a registered engineer has sealed a plan, that's a proprietary plan from them. And if an architect, a registered architect has sealed a plan, it's their proprietary information. We can allow people to view it but we cannot give them a copy. But once AI comes into play and a lot of things get uploaded into the system, how does that work? So there are a lot of ethical things and professional things that we have to be a little be careful about. So those are things that we are trying to put in our system, in the citywide system, as rules and regulations against the use of AI for what are the things we need to be careful about. So just those things that I wanted to talk about. So big moves. How do you think Arlington's development process can be more resilient to a lot of different things that I talked about, the market shifts? What are the things that you think could be done to make, I know we do things very much reactionary to what happens, but kind of how to anticipate this and make our process very resilient. Is there anything that y'all would like to talk about?
I have one thing I would put out there from the very small developer, not the big boys, because the big boys have big budgets and they have engineering firms, architecture firms. They have the money to obey all the rules and find out all the things that you have to do. And I've done this both on the residential and commercial side. What I have found is that the smaller projects don't have a big enough budget to hire perhaps someone to do exhaustive engineering in the beginning. And so what I would like to see, if I had my wishes, is a liaison that is in between the city and the contractor that could help simplify the process, maybe be an advocate for the builder. And that's because I think we lose a lot of very small infill because it's just too hard. And so if there was a way to have someone in between that can say, hey, builder, yeah, you want to do this, it's not allowed, but if you do these changes, here's what you need to do, here's the easiest process, maybe some streamlined things. And I'm talking particularly about residential infill and very small commercial buildings, both of which I have recently done in the last year. And it would have been great to get some help because the big boys, it doesn't matter so much because they have big teams. But when you're looking at budgets, maybe $1 million or less, which is still a lot of money, I think those are the projects that need the most help. And I've talked to people that go, you know what, we don't build in Arlington, we don't build in some of these larger cities because it's too hard. So if I had something that I would like to see is just some way, and we have a help center which people can go to and they can say, here's my plans, here's my question. But it'd be nice to have a liaison in between. I don't know how that would be funded, but I think it would actually be a really good thing on getting some new residential in some of these rundown neighborhoods. Especially in my area, around the entertainment district, you've got a high demand use for short-term rentals, which is the lifeblood of that entire area. Because if it wasn't for that, it would be perhaps more. It would be decaying at a rapid rate, I would say. But because of the limited short-term rental ordinance and where we have those, there was a need to tear down and rebuild. And I would like to see something for those small people to be able to make it easier. There we
That's
go.
great.
There we go.
We did have in 2022 a project called as Residential Infill and Redevelopment Project, which did not get approved. It went through a whole 1-year process of planning and engaging with community, and at the very end, and I brought up that thing, what is the most contentious issue? And in that process, the contentious issue was the NIMBYs, where everybody felt like, you want to do all this next to my neighborhood. And so it didn't happen. But there were some really good things in that project that would have helped the small infill development residential projects. It even included giving 5 to 10% variances on the lot size, lot depth, and lot width, all that by right for those smaller projects, because it's very difficult to build to our standards when you have such a small constrained site. But hopefully we do something else. I mean, I wouldn't say that was a failed project, because after that, we had cottage community standards that was adopted. So it blossomed into different things. We have cottage community standards. Another trend that city took on was flex hybrid, something that was happening all over. So that was not, I would say that was more like an anticipatory kind of a zoning that we included in our zoning ordinance, called as flex hybrid. Not a whole lot of cities have that, but we were able to include that as a use in some of our zoning areas. So we do sometimes those anticipate and kind of build in our ordinances, but then there are lots of things that is very reactionary and has a lot of contentious issues with it. Anything else y'all want to discuss on that topic before we get to the consultants? Yeah.
Asked, how can Arlington improve education about city planning and improve the development process? I had 2 ideas, and I don't know if these already exist or not my thing, but thinking about Anthony Nagy and our visitor from our very first meeting, one of those is a tax rebate structure for residences and commercial/industrial developments, updating to environmental conservation goals. So providing an incentive if they will do the right thing for the planet when they build, and if there's demolition involved, doing the right things there, and adhering to timelines as well, so they can't complain back.
Yeah.
And another one is a fee rebate structure if a builder achieves KPIs within certain timelines. So they want to keep the timeline tight, but it doesn't apply where the form-based code might fit in. Give them some KPIs, okay, if you submit it and it doesn't have any flaws, and then we do our inspections at certain dates, then provide an incentive for having planned well. And for the companies that Ken said don't have the big budgets to hire these big firms, okay, you don't have all of that, so let's give you an incentive to really do a good job and condense our time that could cause delay, and then hard feelings and contention, as you said.
Yeah, like a turnkey type project to kind of give that incentive.
Just
on
like
that.
when we're doing all this freeway construction, there's an incentive built in. If they get that built early, they get this many $1 million. Well, I think that could be a great incentive, and that also lets the city and the county go ahead and start collecting taxes on that as well.
Yeah.
So maybe that kind of structure. Taylor, were you going to ask a question?
Well, less a question, just, Jinsey, you and I have talked many times about kind of this general topic about how to make the UDC more transparent and predictable across the board, not just for sophisticated builders and projects. Less political and less arbitrary, and more of this partnership mentality that Ken talks about. So anything that we can do to make our process more predictable and transparent, that's going to lower costs. And we talk about housing issues and affordability issues, and don't hold me to this math, but I think the National Association of Home Builders says that about 35% of construction costs is regulatory compliance. And I think there's more that local communities can do to lower that regulatory burden by improving predictability and transparency in this process to help lower costs. I'm happy to talk more about that off, more later, but anything that we can do, with this plan to help spur that through incentives or just improve that process will help because this plan is going to talk more about infill redevelopment than new construction. And so I think a predictable process and one that favors landowners. I mean, a lot of times you talk about a plan and we talk about land use, you have property owners and they have dreams and plans for wealth building and things like that. And I think a lot of times our plan, the city and its infinite wisdom has this vision for an area, and a lot of times we forget, well, there's landowners that own that land, and did we include them in what that vision is? And so I think there's two things: more predictability, and then what do the current landowners want to do, and can we partner with them appropriately?
Thank you. I would add to that a little bit. I think the transparency, a lot of it is there. It's just very difficult to understand the scope of what is involved with so many architectural and engineering, and just the whole process is very, very complex. So I think from my standpoint, it's pretty transparent, but then you got to learn all their rules. And the rules are for construction with the building codes and international building codes and electrical codes and plumbing codes and HVAC codes. I mean, there's a code for a code. That's the hardest part for us. And so I think it's transparent, but then you have to read the very large document and find the one little thing, and you can't find it. Or you send it in and they send it back because you don't have it right. And you're like, tell me what it needs to be because I don't know. And then they'll tell you, and then you put it in there even though you don't know what it means. So anyway, just my comment on that. I think it's not a transparency issue. It's maybe an issue of education, or maybe AI can help with this. Maybe the builders can use AI. In fact, I've done that with the city. I've actually put the UDC into AI and asked it questions about my project, and actually got most of it right.
Yeah,
So,
most of it right. That
yeah,
is
but not all of
that is
it. That's right.
That's
Not
what
all
you
of it.
get, is most of it right. So
Right.
we do understand the complexity of the code itself, and we are also looking at how to make it easier. We are actually tapping onto AI to see if there's something we can do to make it easier on our customers as well. Thank you.
Okay, so now, are we ready for our break? So I missed one section of this, so we're going to take a very short break, and when we come back, we're going to wait to hook up with someone remotely, and then let's just take about a 5-minute break, stretch a little bit, and we'll come right back at it. Okay, I guess we're ready to start back up. Thanks for your patience. At this time, I'm going to ask Denitrik, did I say it right? Denitrik Powers, to provide the committee with an overview of a recently completed small area place type market assessment. After this review and discussion, we will be led through a discussion selecting 5 of these areas for high-level physical assessment that we'll learn more about.
And Denitrik, I'm just going to say a couple things real quick for clarity. At everyone's places, Committee Member Talambis couldn't be here with us tonight, but he did provide me with comments. So I think it's under the market assessment itself. It's just a single paper. So feel free to read through that if you've not already while participating in this conversation. And then I just want to reiterate the end goal here is we're going to go over 8 sites that were selected based off of a variety of conversations that have been had with the Economic Development Corporation, the Economic Development Department, Office of Strategic Initiatives, Planning and Development Services, and certainly the City Management Office. And the task that is before y'all is to help us determine of those 8, which 5 need to be part of a high-level fiscal assessment that will be completed as part of Innovate Arlington. So Denitric will go over that and what exactly is going to be included in that high-level fiscal assessment. But that's our end objective, is not only to go through this document and explore these 8 areas and the potential that could be unlocked, but to really dive into that next deeper level with 5 areas. So we'll have an open discussion to kind of determine those 5 areas, and I'll help MC that. And then we'll hopefully come to an agreement tonight, and then NAO will begin that work. So I'll hand it over to you, Denitric. Yes.
Thank you, John. Good evening, everyone. My name is Denitric Powers. I'm co-founder of NAO Partners, and I lead our planning and research team. So really quickly, I'll go over the purpose and framework for the place type market analysis. So this analysis evaluates the development feasibility for 8 key geographies within Arlington. The overall intent is to understand, based on the 4 key components, how each of these sites measures up to absorb potential investment to catalyze development within Arlington. Just as a reminder, this isn't a comparative analysis, but the scores for each site were relative within Arlington, so helping us prioritize sites rather than a comparison to other geographies outside of the market area. So as mentioned, the contract was limited to 8 sites. Each of these sites were constrained to no more than 50 acres total. Each initial site selected from several city departments, or selected with input from several city departments, including the Economic Development Department and the City Manager's Office. Each sites were evaluated using 25 measurable indicators that were grouped into 4 categories that you've seen on the previous slide. So market demand, regulatory, access, and infrastructure. Here is an example of a graphic that is in the full report, which highlights the proximity to local amenities within each key geography. The dark green represents a higher amount of higher proximity to key amenities, including nearby schools, nearby grocery, nearby parks, and nearby healthcare facilities. Overall, East Park Road Drive in New York Avenue scored the highest within this key category. So the first site that I'll discuss is Lamar and Collins Street. This corridor serves as a large and growing customer base with strong visibility and development momentum. Some of the key constraints, included, higher crime index, as well as potential the need for remediation of sites. But it has a strong residential density, providing a strong customer base that would benefit retail services and amenities within walking or biking distance. Some of the key opportunities for this site includes it's a prime site for potential catalytic anchor, such as a health, education, or mixed-use campus that will leverage the availability of land. It's also an opportunity to build a regional commerce hub linking the housing growth with new employment and retail opportunities. South Cooper Streets and Park Mall is Arlington's strongest regional commercial hub. It has a large retail and dining base and very high redevelopment flexibility, giving the percentage of land that is zoned for high density development. Some of the additional strengths includes its connectivity to highways and regional destinations. Some of its challenges includes limited connection to nearby neighborhoods, so it has a limited, a lower score for walkability. Some of the opportunities for the site includes, transforming the expansive parking areas into public gathering spaces, positioning it as a next generational regional destination by layering cultural and entertainment assets onto the existing retail strength and advancing mobility upgrades to integrate the area with the surrounding neighborhood. East Park Road Drive and New York Avenue is the most populous area out of has the highest population density out of the 8 key geographies, with strong neighborhood demand, access to schools and groceries, and form-based code momentum. 88% of the land is zoned for high density uses. Because of this, it presents an opportunity to expand mixed use housing and neighborhood retail to serve the large residential base. It could be positioned as a neighborhood hub that anchors the surrounding community growth. One of the challenges is limited healthcare access within walking distance. And another risk is the remediation costs could constrain smaller scale developers. Rising home values could also outpace affordability if housing strategies are not prioritized. South Cooper Street and Pioneer. This is a high performing corridor with strong spending power, amenities, and zoning capacity for vertical mixed use. It does have some infrastructure challenges and potential remediation needs. Some of the strengths includes, a strong consumer spending potential. High density zoning creates flexibility for vertical mixed use. It has established access to grocery and dining. Some of the opportunities is to reinforce it as a neighborhood serving center with mixed retail services and residential infill, targeted walkability improvements that would link the commercial corridors with nearby neighborhoods. And then some of the risks include, I think I mentioned potential environmental and infrastructure costs to remediate sites, as well as traffic congestion along the corridor could potentially reduce the site's attractiveness without multimodal solutions. East Road to Six Flags and Six Flags Drive. This is Arlington's tourism and entertainment gateway with exceptional regional access, but a very small residential base. There's an opportunity to diversify, visitor economy and potentially, convert or add additional housing to target workforce needs. Additional strengths includes excellent multimodal access to highway, rail, and the airport. Some of the challenges includes limited everyday services and a limited residential base restricts 24/7 activity. Opportunities in this area includes positioning positioning it as Arlington's signature entertainment and cultural district. An opportunity to diversify the tourism economy by adding nightlife, dining, and creating venues. Some of the potential risks includes the economic downturns or shifts in tourism could reduce demand, and then potential remediation costs for redevelopment. West Harris Road and US 287. Next, this is a moderate growth area with strong home values and highway access, but limited existing commercial amenities. Then some of the other top corridors, is an opportunity to phase in mixed use and residential infill, and create neighborhood nodes that brings services closer to residents. Some of the challenges for this area includes lower traffic volumes and reduces retail exposure compared to some of the other corridors. But an opportunity is to position it as an attractive family serving area near amenities, leveraging parks and nearby schools. One of the major risks is like it may require a catalytic public or private investment to reach the scale that it needs. Dr. Martin Luther King Drive, which is adjacent to the airport. This area benefits from airport adjacency. It has a solid housing market within the 1 mile buffer and has supportive infrastructure, but it has limited healthcare access. It is not zoned for high density zoning, so a policy change would be pivotal. There is an opportunity for this site to act as an innovation / creative or employment district with live work feasibility or flexibility. And then last but not least is Highway 360 and East Pioneer Parkway. This is the least market-ready geography out of the 8 areas. It has excellent multimodal connectivity, but it has limited density, limited amenities. It isn't currently zoned for high-density development, but there is opportunity for adaptive reuse and incremental development of industrial and office spaces. It could potentially foster an innovation or creative district with flexible workspace. Some of the risks includes, again, it has weak market fundamentals, which can limit near-term momentum. And without a catalytic anchor, this area may remain peripheral to Arlington's growth centers. So for the upcoming high-level fiscal assessment, it'll include 5 areas out of the 8 that were discussed today. The recommendation that we had for choosing these 5 fiscal areas were to focus on market demand, the ability to test zoning reforms, location diversity, and economic priorities. Based on those factors, the set of locations that we are recommending includes Lamar and Collins because of its strong residential demand and growth potential. South Cooper Street and Parks Mall because of its strong, it is a strong commercial anchor. East Park Road Drive and New York Avenue because it has an existing high residential density and has the ability to test walkable neighborhood-oriented development. West Harris Road and US 287 because this is ideal for phased mixed use or residential infill development. And then Highway 360, Freeway 360 and East Pioneer Parkway because it has great connectivity and existing infrastructure and opportunity for a new catalytic anchor.
All right. Thank you, Denitrick. Any questions from the committee members on the 8 sites? Or comments?
Ken Cox, Chair. Well, I've got a couple of things. One would be, when this would probably apply to most of them, some of the crime scores were not necessarily that great. Do we know if there is a particular area of crime that is out of control or that is higher than we would anticipate?
So the data that we have access to for the crime index uses, it's from Esri, and they use FBI data sources. And what I would say is that, we did not emphasize those crime index scores within this. We ran a couple of different analyses and the outcome was to choose not to emphasize them because it did skew some of the scores, making some of the areas less attractive. It didn't drastically decrease the scores, but for instance, I think South Cooper Street and Parks Mall had a higher score than Lamar Collins originally because of that score, because of the crime index. But what I would say is that, the local community, you all, the elected leaders, staff, are going to have a much stronger perception on what crime looks like in the different local geographies within Arlington. And so I wouldn't use that I wouldn't use that as an emphasis or to determine which area to choose for the fiscal assessment, which is why I wasn't included as a recommended factor.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, Nina.
Nia Henderson, on the requirement to select 5 areas, I noticed that there's one area that both the consultants and city staff did not select them. Can someone share with me if the reason, 5, East Roads of Six Flags and Six Flag Drive, were not selected in either case because those could potentially redevelop on their own within the current codes that we have, and so that's not necessarily an effective use of the resources within this plan? Would that have been one of the reasons why that was completely?
I would say for us, the crystal ball is a little bit clearer on that area, being in the entertainment district adjacent to Six Flags and the highway and the Great Southwest Industrial District. I think the crystal ball and what that area can really become is clearer than some of these other areas that have more opportunities for small infill development, different types of redevelopment than what's currently existing, and larger greenfields such as the West Harris Road and US 287 highway.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Was that the same consideration for West Harris as well as MLK Drive adjacent to the airport?
Yes.
I'm just trying to make my decision
Absolutely.
and looking to see what other people were thinking, because some of these things are really obvious to me, but I don't know if they're obvious to others.
I see you grabbing the
Yeah,
microphone.
I see that in the city staff area choices, we had MLK Drive adjacent to airport marked as one of the selected area, but I was also, while the consultant was talking, I was thinking about certain things. That is an area that it is not very advisable to have residential in there just because of its proximity to the airport. So there is a whole airport master plan and strategies in there that actually says otherwise not to have a residential at that location. So I would actually not worry much about that one, because that would be, again, as you all mentioned, it would probably be developed on its own based upon everything else that is happening over there with e-space and other commercial facilities.
And so with that in mind, that there's already a plan in place for the airport area, Cooper Street and Parks Mall, would that not naturally develop on its own now that it's been identified and other departments are already working on it? If we have to choose 5 out of 8, that's a pretty big challenge.
So Cooper Street and Parks Mall area, even though it's been identified as it may be time for that redevelopment or the thinking for that, it's not really happened. What we are doing right now with Parks Mall is very small, fragmented type redevelopments. Just thinking about the national trend with what's happening with malls, if there's a different thought that needs to be talked about for that specific area, because no more of these one-story malls like that, that's not going to survive for too long. We are doing pretty good even today, but it's just not going to survive for too long. So what's that next thing that needs to come there? And what does that bring to the city? Our city manager always talks about cash in on our taxpayers, put the taxpayers' money into the city and not put it out there, because that is what has happened in many of the locations. So Glade Parks in Euless has taken away a lot of our tax dollars that Arlington, North Arlington residents could have had in North Arlington. Now it's all going there. Prior to that, it was going to South Lake Town Square. Similarly, a lot of things have gone to Grand Prairie on the I-20 side, on the other side of I-20. So now Parks Mall is an area that is still surviving and is successful. What needs to change? Again, anticipate the trends and see what needs to be done so that it can still get that regional business from everywhere else as well.
With all that said, I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, which is a very similar city size and a very similar city format. I mean, it was a very stable city. People live there a long time. It doesn't have a lot of influence from outsiders. And it has an area called Hoover that has a huge mall. Everybody in the state went to the Galleria, mimicked on the Galleria in Dallas, and the mall started to hurt, and the city of Hoover almost failed. With that in mind, my concern is that if we put all of our dollars in one place to gather that tax revenue and not necessarily in the downtown area, because I don't see the downtown on here at all. And so if we put all of our dollars in one place, are we hurting ourselves? I'm just asking myself. I need to take in everything that you said.
One thing to note that these 5 areas is not where all the tax dollars are going to be. There's a lot of other things happening in the city. Now, with the form-based code that we are doing with downtown, changing the regulations to attract more development that is conducive to what we need here, that is going to be a game changer on its own. So this is not determining that this is where our tax dollars are going to go finally. This is only selecting 5 of many other locations that we have in mind, because we just don't have the budget to do more, right? We are just coming down to selection of 5 for now. As I brought up in my presentation, that every plan should have an update after certain years. After 5 years, when you look at the comp plan again as for an update, there may be another 5 areas that you might be most thinking that is what we need to focus on. And we could be doing another fiscal assessment for those. But at this time, which are the 5 most critical areas that you want to focus on to do a fiscal assessment?
Thank you.
And for downtown, I would anticipate the downtown master plan, when that's updated, which would likely happen within the next 5 years, that will include more of a fiscal assessment, understanding if form-based code is now here and there's other catalytic projects that have come on board, that'll be a prime time to really focus on a fiscal assessment here. Once the master plan at UTA really starts kicking off and starts changing elements around here, that'll be a great time. For these 5 sites, the fiscal assessment will address 3 different place types within each of those sites. So this is a great opportunity for us to maybe explore, for instance, is Parks Mall, should it be more of an entertainment-based mall area, or should it really be more of a commerce-based mall area? What's going to give Arlington residents the biggest bang for their buck? So that's what the assessment will look at. We'll take the 5 areas that hopefully we can pick tonight, and it will assess 3 different place types, and you will understand at a high level which place type in that area is going to give Arlington and its residents the biggest bang for the buck.
Quick question, David Miller. Do you have a breakdown of the sales tax dollars between residents and non-residents? And thinking of from the perspective of these 5, is there maybe a target if you were to, maintain non-resident levels of sales tax and increase resident by X amount? Is there like a sweet spot there or a target?
I'm not a professional exactly on what we receive from the comptroller's office from taxes, but usually it's just by account. So you may have a city that has 3 Walmarts, and you only get to know that Walmart within the city of X received this many tax dollars. It's very much under lock and key. But
Yeah, we don't have any data that specifies residents versus non-residents tax dollars.
But we can use AI technology such as Placer AI to start understanding within certain market areas, are people coming mostly from Arlington, or is that Placer AI data that uses cell tower data, is it more so coming from outside, those regional? So we can get maybe a indicator, but I wouldn't say we would know, like, here's the dollar signs.
Okay, Taylor?
Yeah, Taylor Oldred, what's the magic about 5 areas instead of 3? It looks like the consultant and city staff have 3 areas of common consensus. Why not just those 3? Is there a reason we're going for 5? Just wondering.
Biggest bang for the buck based on the contract.
Contract.
Yeah, from the consultant's perspective, yeah, that's what was budgeted for.
I don't know if it's time to make decisions, but for me, North Arlington is where I'm from. I know it extremely well. The Collins and Lamar, there's been land over there that's, been saved for something special for a very long time, and the something special hasn't come. And I know that previous mayors and councils were saving that for something very special. And I think the dream or the goal of, at least in the past, is to have a Fortune 100 or Fortune 500 company build in that spot that would create lots of jobs and the proximity to I-30. So for me, I think that could be a very good thing for the city, not only from the property tax standpoint, but from all the jobs that it could possibly create. So I think that's going to be a very important one for me. Probably the most important. When I look at the Parks Mall, I think that's a really big area, and it needs a good shot in the arm. The market will end up doing what it's going to do, but I think you could almost have the same thing there with high-rise apartments or something because it's close to the highways, and then some type of employment center. Certainly retail and things will follow an employment center. If we look at the Highlands and the successful operations there, and we look at the Parks Mall, what can we do to give it a shot in the arm to help these things move along a little bit faster? But for me, those are my top 2. If we're looking at the other ones, if we look at the one that's going to be the most successful, that one was, let's
East
see.
Park Road Drive in New York
The
Avenue.
Park Road Drive, yes. If it's got that great of numbers and it looks like that's going to be the most successful, then, you want to go for the low-hanging fruit. Might be able to make faster changes there that'll be more impactful. So those would be the top 3 for me. On the others, it's not as much in my wheelhouse, but those are the 3 that I would go with. And we can look at what other people think about the different areas, and we'll be able to get it down to what we think are the top 5.
Kirsten Thatcher. I guess I want to advocate for the West Harris Road, 287, Jesus, area that is, I guess, where I'm from. And there seems to already be some development like happening over there with, if I'm thinking of the right area, it's HEB is kind of starting to come that direction off of 287 in that area. And so in my mind, like kind of, since it is like a high, to me, like family area, like people are going there, buying homes and raising their families, to kind of go ahead and continue to expand on like what's already happening there. I know, again, when you think about like doing things with your family, we do have to come towards the Parks Mall, towards the entertainment districts if we're thinking Arlington, or go to Fort Worth, because, you know, you can get on 287 and be in Fort Worth. So like maybe something more family oriented in that area could be helpful. Just kind of like I said, building on what's already there. There are a lot of schools right there at all levels as well, so.
Robert Snyder. And I was just curious, if we're going to be doing a fiscal assessment, is there a particular reason why the city's land that's at I-30 in Collins wasn't included in the Lamar and Collins area?
I think that goes back to the crystal ball. I think there's pretty much a set vision for what that area should be developed. There's been multiple iterations of council members. There's already a lot of eyes on what the city should plan to do with that particular property. It's not, no, it's the property to the north, and then it kind of expands upward.
Okay, thank you.
Ken? Taylor Oldroyd again. A thought I have is the name of our project here is Innovate Arlington. And there's some of these that tend to, well, some of them have innovate right in the notes here. So I would lean towards not necessarily low-hanging fruit. I like to check that as well, but where can we really innovate, help Arlington innovate the most, and maybe, you know, really make some progress here. And sometimes that's the harder ones, less than the low-hanging fruit ones. I know like number 6 here, this West Harris and 287, mixed use. Of course, a couple of them talk about mixed use, and I think that's just a really good way to go. And then number 7, right in there, is innovation, focused development. So the three that the city and the consultant share, I think those should be considered, and then maybe we arm wrestle over some of the other ones or something. Not me personally, but.
Well, I have a comment to make on that. Transformative is the word, and if you have one that, you know, maybe wouldn't be as likely to be successful, but it would be super transformable if it became something really special. So I agree.
Okay, Aftab Siddiqui here. Thank you very much for all the analysis here. And I have really looked at it, and I do agree, if we have to pick 5, I do agree with the picks of the that have been picked up by the city and the organization, a consultant. So I do think that these are good picks, and I think we should go for the 5 ones which have been picked. But thank you.
Being on the AISD Capital Needs Steering Committee, I've spent a good bit of time lately over at East Park Road Drive in New York, and also at near 360 and East Pioneer Parkway. And we're talking about spending a bunch of money for all of our community. And based on those 2 neighborhoods, I can't imagine excluding them, because they offer the greatest potential for a lot of very young families in our community. And I believe it is embarrassing that that is part of our city, those areas. We are not taking care of our residents and our businesses over there. And I look around and make sure my windows are up and I can honk my horn. So I'd like to see development over there, for it to feel safer, for us to take great care of it. And so I'm advocating very strongly for those areas. I agree with Taylor on innovation, and I love the idea at South Cooper Street and West Pioneer, vertical mixed use. We can go more than 3 stories. Let's put some good businesses in there and get rid of the clutter and make it really nice and not just a place I pass by and see on my way to somewhere important. I think we've got some great options here, and it's going to be a challenge, but I don't want to exclude the airport area. I think partnering with economic development will be a good thing to do, even though it doesn't have both of the squares in yellow, Taylor.
Well, I think you've advocated for every area now, Nina. Congratulations.
I have 5. Sorry.
If I may, maybe I can help get a few off of our plate here. That might help us finish up here. So could I just get a hand gesture for Lamar and Collins, which is up here at the north. It'd be just north of the vacant I-30. Are you okay with that for this first one? Okay. So we're good on that. The Parks Mall area and assessing 3 different place types and understanding. Okay, so that one's good too. And then East Park Road Drive and New York Avenue. Okay, I'm gonna take these 3 off, and then I think we just need 2 more. And so let me highlight all of these up here real quick. So I'm circling them up here on the map if anyone's interested. And then Park Row. So I think we've, all of these are great sites. There's really no wrong answer.
Can we get a question from Jeremy? Did you need to make a comment?
I was just really interested on how the 3 place types are being decided for each location.
Yes, Denidre, did you want to, they each have a full copy of the market assessment. So did you want to walk them through maybe just one of the first profile pages? Or I can try my best.
In the PowerPoint?
No, they have the full market assessment printout.
I got you.
And so the question is determining the 3 place types that will be assessed as part of the fiscal assessment.
How are each?
Right. So,
Go ahead.
so what I will say is that the types of place types for each location was determined by our consultant partner MIG. Based on those place types, we then ran an analysis on how it would change population, housing units, and jobs for each area. And so for South Cooper Street at Parks Mall, we looked at the existing conditions and then did a comparison of a commerce hub, entertainment and cultural district, and a mixed use center. All 3 of those increase population and housing units compared to existing conditions. But for the jobs category, the mixed use center and the commerce hub had lower job numbers than the existing conditions, and the entertainment and cultural district had higher estimated amount of jobs. And so overall at South Cooper Street and at Parks Mall, the entertainment and cultural district place type estimates that there would be that would attract more people to live there, would create more development, as well as more jobs.
Mr. Skidmore, did that answer your question?
Yes, it does, especially now that I can see which place types are for each location.
And just for reference for everyone, for instance, if you go to page 16 of that full marketplace assessment, you'll see under the banner for Cooper Street at Parks Mall, it'll list out the recommended place types. So for instance, entertainment, cultural destination, mixed-use center, and commerce hub. You can flip to the next page, and this is for each of the profiles, and you can see a graph that illustrates how each of those place types at a high level would impact population, housing units, and jobs, or at least illustrate a potential. And so what NAO will do is analyze each of those top 3 place types, understand what would the infrastructure needs be for those types of place types, and will the developments that might come in as part of those place types basically pay for themselves, so that we're not upside down as part of this vision for any of these 5 areas.
Hey, Carlton, you had a comment?
Yeah, Carlton, Washington. Just in regards to the last 2, I'm a big fan of taking advantage of kind of the high visibility areas, which kind of led me, of course, to number 1, but also leads me to number 8, and then number 6. Number 6 being the visible area, a lot of traffic going through that area, but also I think it's in essence the forgotten part of Arlington in some aspects. So I just wanted to ensure that we gave it a solid look, just so we can in essence kind of touch the different corners of the city.
Yeah, Zach Graves. I just want to, advocate for the South Cooper Street, West Pioneer Parkway. I know in the past, city council has put effort into plans for what Cooper Street could be, major arterial through all of Arlington. There's been major plans, major initiatives along Pioneer Parkway, got the International Boulevard. And this is the intersection of both of those. And not only that, it being an area that, doesn't really have a great identity, or a very well-defined identity, in my opinion, in an area that would, in order to really develop into something really innovative, would require a pretty strong partnership between the city and a developer. This is an area that, when I look at it, part of the restrictions are some of the city infrastructure there. So I think thinking through if this is an area that could be a high development area of high economic impact, the city would really need to understand that, because there would probably be a lot of city infrastructure needs in order to support that. So having that information to make sure it's worthwhile, I think would be a good use of our analysis.
Bruce Dalton. Zach, I agree with that, only Cooper Southwest Parkway, only because that's probably one of the busiest intersections of rush hour that you'll ever see. John, I'm just wondering why you didn't take a straw vote on number 8, since that was the consensus of both the city and the consultant.
I'll take a vote on number 8, which was the State Highway 360 and East Pioneer Parkway up here at the mid-east of Arlington. Raise of hands. It's pretty strong, but let me get a tally. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7? All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
And I get, this is Anthony Powell, just a clarifying question, because I know we kind of took a vote on consensus on number 3, but I wanted to get the understanding, so the city staff did not choose number 3, so what was the thinking behind the staff not including that? Just so I understand, if we're going to support number 3, I want to understand what the city's thinking was.
So there is a city property in that site, and there's already several talks going on for that city property site as to what it could become. And we have at least 3 developers lined up for that. So that may be the reason I'm thinking.
Do we just want to take a tally for each of the places? So I have 2 right now for number 4, South Cooper Street and West Pioneer Parkway. I got, oh, yes, question?
With that information that was just shared, David Miller, on the third option, impact anyone's thoughts, if there's already a direction,
Good question.
is that a good investment then? Just curious if we wanted to retally or rethink that.
We can retally.
I would second on that, because if there's something we don't know, if there is something coming that could be big, that could, the other areas around it would be able to build off of that momentum and redevelop an area. If there's something we don't know, that definitely could affect my decision, because I'm looking at 360 and Pioneer Parkway, and I think, the shopping in the area over there is just tired. It's tired, but look you've got a lot of size, you've got great mobility with the streets. It's got a lot of great things going, but it's just really, really tired. And that could be something nice, and it would take a lot of redoing, but it's got a lot going for it.
So should we do a tally real quick for number 3, East Park Road Drive and New York Avenue, based off of question or, yep.
My arm is just a little short, sorry. Quick question, is the notes on the side, are those the consultant notes, or are those like comprehensive of both the consultant and the city, just so I know?
Of the document itself.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so a vote real quick, hand tally for number 3, East Park Road Drive and New York Avenue. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna just start, 5? Did I have 5? 5, thank you. That is hard. And then number 8 was 7, did anyone? Okay. South Cooper Street and West Pioneer. So that'd be right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Lucky number 7. Does anyone have any comments related to that particular site that we've not heard yet, or questions? Okay. And then East Road to Six Flags and Six Flags Drive, just adjacent to Six Flags itself along State Highway 360. No takers. Boom. West Harris Road and US 287 Highway down in southwest Arlington. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Dr. MLK Drive adjacent to the airport. 1, 2, 3, 3. All right, so we got 3, so if we take Lamar and Collins Street, South Cooper Street at Parks Mall, South Cooper Street and West Pioneer Parkway, West Harris Road and US 287, and then State Highway 360 Highway and East Pioneer Parkway. And let me make sure I have all of those. Yes, the 3 7s, in addition to 777. So we have number 4. Just want to make sure. I'm going to circle the stars instead of the entire name here.
Number 1, 2, 4, 6, and 8.
1, 2. All right. I think that's a well spread across Arlington, hits a lot of different types of areas that are in different stages of life, a lot of different place types. So I do think this is very well rounded. And so I just want to get a motion, or not a motion, but just a hand gesture that we can work with the consultants on completing a fiscal assessment on the place types for these 5 areas. Just a quick hand raise. Amazing. No, because the only motion that y'all will take is a recommendation of the plan itself. All right. Any questions about what this fiscal assessment is really going to include? I just want to make sure if y'all have any expectations, we can clear the air on that and address them now or via email. But certainly if you don't necessarily have any questions right now, please email me. I want to make sure we're going to, yes.
Taylor Oldred, my question is on this timeline then, where does this, what color code is, just to help me make sense of this process that we just voted on? Which one is it on this Gantt chart thing here? Is it the orange, purple, red? No.
Oh, the Gantt chart?
Yeah,
With that
on this
beautiful thing?
timeline here.
Let me grab it for you. And what's the question?
Just this process that Neo's gonna go through,
Oh.
where is it on this?
So I don't believe that one's actually on here,
Oh,
but
okay.
it'll take place starting really now, but really January after the new year, and they'll, I believe, have that completed sometime in February, and then it'll be back in front of the committee in March.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
But any questions on this timeline and just everything that's happening in Arlington next year? There's a lot going on, y'all. But we're excited. All right. Thank you, Denitrik. I really appreciate you being here and all the hard work.
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone, for your input.
And then we'll quickly switch the screen over to our other presentation. Perfect. Get through here.
Record.
All right.
Okay, before we adjourn, we need to look at the next meeting dates. And so we've got January 15th, 2026, February 19th, and March 12th. And all those dates work for everyone? For most of us? Okay. And you want to update us on future agenda items,
Yeah.
John?
So we do have a new parks director, Gary Packin. And so they are certainly open to inviting the committee to basically an open meeting with them. And I just wanted to double check to see if everyone who is interested, this would be a meeting likely here held at City Hall. We'll post a possible quorum notice. This would be a meet and greet with the new parks director, have one of these very familiar conversations that y'all have had now about what parks, recreation, and culture, they are renamed, what their department is currently facing, and what we might be able to do as a committee working on Innovate Arlington. So I just wanted to kind of get a pulse from the room on interest for that meeting, and I'll begin setting that up for hopefully late January. But because MIG will be here with us January, February, March, there's just not enough time to get parks on one of our agendas like tonight. Yes.
John, thank you. I think that's marvelous. It has just been brought to my attention that there are generations in Arlington who want more third places. And I didn't know that we've added culture onto the name of Parks and Recreation, which is very exciting. Is there an opportunity for them to present to us their vision or what plan they're following? Or is it just, hello, nice, welcome to Arlington?
That would be the purpose of our meeting with Parks. So I just wanted to get a sense from the room if that's certainly something that I can coordinate with y'all in Parks, if it needs to be during the day and evening. We'll talk more about details, but everyone interested in that meeting? Perfect. Late January? Perfect. All right, I'll continue to coordinate. A warm place. It does get cold around that time. Any other future agenda items that y'all would like for us to address? Yes.
As I mentioned to you earlier, Nina Henderson, I don't know if we're still recording. It has come to my attention that AISD's plan and our plan and UTA's plan are not necessarily using all the same data and necessarily talking to each other. I'm in some of those rooms, but it's not everybody is. And discerning between those, because we're all in the same city And I really am concerned that AISD is not communicating with the city and back and forth. Is there a way to make that happen? We saw a great presentation at the steering committee for the schools that would have been beneficial to us today.
Yeah, we can certainly reach out to them, and I may ask if y'all have any kind of contacts, just to make sure that we get that direct kind of introduction with maybe who I should be interested in speaking with. But yes, we would want to do that as well.
I'm very excited for that to happen because the data doesn't agree.
Taylor Oldroyd, if we're putting potential planning dates with other individuals and organizations, I know this is coming into an election year, so there's going to be some new potential, well, there will be some new city council members. Maybe we can add them to, whether we go to them or they come to us or something, some of the newbies, to make sure we don't lose any momentum after an election season.
So Taylor, are you asking prior to the elections or after?
No, after the election,
Okay.
we're going to have new people in the seats, so let's not lose momentum by,
Yeah, make sure there's an introduction between
Yeah,
the
some
new
introduction,
council
and so they
members
know.
and all of y'all and and all the work that y'all are doing.
yeah.
Zach Graves. Yeah, I just want to reiterate what Nina brought up about coordination with our schools, AISD. I've also have recently heard that maybe there wasn't as much communication going on between the city and the school district as one would just assume, and that for a lot of people, the school is kind of the center of their neighborhood. And so when we talk about getting into the nitty-gritty of how a neighborhood defines itself, a lot of times it is around those schools. And so, not for everyone, obviously, but I think just being more intentional about engaging them and seeing how we can help each other is important.
Okay. So I guess if we don't have any more future agenda items, we can adjourn. So we will adjourn this meeting at 8:23. Thank you.
Thank y'all.